Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I'm telling you, today is just an absolute beautiful day. For being the 1st of March, and we've got mid-70s here after having a pretty cold winter around here and actually quite a bit of snow and ice on average for around here in the Ozarks. It's really nice to see so much sun and warmth. And one of the things that sun and warmth bring for a lot of us homesteaders is that itch to get out and plant. As soon as winter starts showing its signs of weakness, everyone wants to get out there and get their hands in the dirt and get planting. And I would be doing that today, except, well, the garden is still pretty muddy from all the snow and ice that we've received over the last several weeks. So it's going to take a little time before that garden is really ready. Just about sink to your ankles, which is one of the downsides to having a good, loamy type of garden soil with, not a lot of rocks and everything. And when it gets wet, you kind of sink in it. So it's not quite ready. But we can start getting ourselves ready. And this is so important. And I would hope that all the things that's been going on leading up to today for the past couple of years has been just an overwhelming amount of evidence to prove to you that you need to get as self-sufficient as possible. And really that's I feel the end goal in preparedness is to be self-sufficient. That's why I promote homesteading. That's why I promote simple living and growing your own foods and raising your own meat, because those preps, while they're really good, they're just a buffer. They're just a little buffer. They're only going to get you so far. And you need to be able to kind of do for yourself and kind of live on your own in a way, as much as possible to truly handle what we're about to face and what we're facing right now. It doesn't have to be an apocalypse to see prices of food so high that you can't afford them, or just shortages that you can't find what you need. And so by producing your own food, foraging, preserving your own food, you can greatly reduce your need upon the whole food systems that's out there by just creating your own food system on your property. This is why I tell people, get your house in order. There's another well-known YouTuber on here that tells people quotes from the Bible, says to come out of her, my people. And this is true, folks. Just for example, you've seen all the stuff that's been going on in Ukraine. You've probably seen little video clips that are floating around of various attacks and battles. How much of that have you seen happen out in the countryside? Not very much. It's pretty much all in the cities. It's usually where this stuff happens. Doesn't mean that if you live out in the country, you're not going to be affected by it, but it means that you have a much higher likelihood to survive stuff like this. And from what I'm hearing, a lot of the people that live out in the countryside of Ukraine, there's a lot of places that they're doing quite well because they can kind of handle themselves and they can kind of take care of themselves. And as things get worse in Ukraine, and they most likely will, those people that live out on the land and that are growing their own food, they're probably going to have a better life than those that are stuck in the cities, dependent upon the systems around them. So you've got to become more self-sufficient. I wanted to mention a book. The author sent it to me, and I'm telling you, it's definitely one of the better ones out there. And there's lots of books out there on preparedness and how to do things, and this is certainly one of them I highly recommend. Cold Times, Preparing for the Mini Ice Age. Don't be thrown off too much by the title, because it's not just about grand solar minimum and potential mini ice age. This book covers so much that just about any scenario that would be really bad, this book's going to cover. And if you do what's in here, you're going to be pretty well prepped. The lady that wrote this, she's quite the expert when it comes to preparedness, and it's just a well-written book. There's a link down in the description below if you're interested in it. Just to help, she's a like-minded individual. Okay, she's been on Ice Age Farmer several times, and she's not just one of these people that just writes a book to sell a book. She knows what she's talking about, and we need to know what we're talking about. We need to get ready to to get our food systems in place, with not just with the shortages and the most likely future shortages because of all the stuff going on, fertilizer shortages and increase of prices. I saw the other day fertilizer is like 300% higher in price, average. There's different kinds of fertilizers. You average them all out, it's about 250 to 300% increase in prices. Well, that's going to trickle down to the grocery store. Farmers can't just absorb that much of an increase of cost. It's going to trickle down to you also. Everything has been that way, and so we've got to take this serious. It may not be quite ready for a lot of you to be planting your gardens, kind of like here, but you can certainly get ready for that. You can, if you don't already have things like manure and compost and stuff to put on it, things that are ready to go, composted down, you can certainly be working on getting that stuff ready. Get your garden plots ready as soon as possible. A lot of you are pretty close to the time that you can start your seedlings inside, and or in your greenhouses, which I certainly recommend greenhouses, hoop houses, because it takes your growing capabilities up to the next level. And if you do it right, it's extending it. You're going to increase your harvest, and you're also going to increase that you can have food earlier and later on in the year than just planting out in the open. So certainly make that a focus this year. As far as meat, it depends on everyone's situation, but chickens, just about everyone watching can probably have a few chickens. And, I know it's a thing to get carried away with them, but if you're capable of it, I would recommend at least a minimum of 20 to 30 chickens. And that way, what you can do, and look for a breed that's a good layer, but also makes a good meat bird, just kind of a dual purpose bird. And you want to certainly have, depending on the number of hens, you want to have some roosters so that you have fertilized eggs, and then you can kind of keep the process going, and you can have meat birds, raise up some of them for meat, some of them for layers, and they don't take a lot of space. They're one of the better ones, one of the better animals to have on a farm, because they don't take up a lot of space and they can actually produce quite a bit. So certainly look at that, and you can look into other animals too. That's not the only one. One of the big things that people need to start getting serious about is getting out of the cities. I talk about this all the time. I try to have some understanding of folks that, they just can't do it. And I get it that prices have gone up. I saw I think yesterday or today that home prices, they've gone up another 10% this year, so far are the numbers. I get it. They have gone up. But you've got to really seriously evaluate, is living in that house or making that money worth it? Are you willing to make the sacrifices? I know a lot of people that have. A lot of people. I know a lot of people around here that, walked away, moved out, sold a very nice home, and they're living in an RV, or they're living in a small cabin and they're building it as they live in it. This is very doable. It's scary, I get it, but when you start to look at all the things that are happening around us, it's got to be one of the most important things in my mind when it comes to preparedness, and especially self-sufficient living. You can only be so self-sufficient in an apartment or even a suburban neighborhood. Getting out in the country, getting yourself a piece of land, you're upping your game so substantially. Depending on where you're at, depending on the land, you could do quite a bit with just a couple of acres. Probably a minimum to really try to get is 10, but certainly if you have the right 2 or 3 acres, you can do a lot in 2 or 3 acres. Start to really evaluate what you can do, because as all this grows, man, I'm telling you, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better for quite a while. Another thing that we have to, I talk about this often, we have to kind of break away from all these systems around us. We're going to be thrown off of these systems eventually, whether the systems collapse or you and I get kicked off because we're no longer welcome to the party. So I would rather do it on my own time. But another system to get off of is public education. For those of you that are parents, you really, really, really need to get your kids out of public schools. I cannot fathom sending my children to public school nowadays. The stuff that they're teaching, the stuff that they're allowing, these teachers that are pushing these radical racial and gender agendas on children. It's absolute abuse. That's all it is. It's abusive. Grooming is all they're doing, and we've got to get our kids out of that. What does it matter to be prepped, to have all the preps in place, all this food, all this training, even a homestead, land, and all that? If you're not protecting all this, if you're doing all this and not protecting your children have got to be the highest priority, and not only protect them by not sending them to public school, but teach them the right ways and teach them how to live and how to take care of themselves, and why they should take care of themselves, why they shouldn't just give in to the systems that are around them that are seeking to destroy them, why they shouldn't teach them that. Because if we don't raise up another generation that can see through this wickedness and fight for truth, we just may lose altogether, folks. We really have to put a lot of focus in that. And I think too many times, we say, well, they're getting taken care of 8 hours a day or whatever it is, and gives me some time to work or do whatever I got to do. And, it's not too bad. I've met their teacher. It's not too bad. This school isn't one of the real bad ones. It's okay. They're all bad, folks. They just all are. And this stuff it's not just in the big liberal schools. It's creeping into the small ones too. So certainly break away from that system. As you're going through this change and this growth and this breaking away and getting your homes in order, look at all the different systems within your homes, like heating and the energy that you need. How are you going to do that? Take this kind of stuff seriously. We've seen oil prices that are going up. Natural gas prices are skyrocketing. I don't think there's any signs that this stuff is going to come down anytime too soon. And in fact, $120 a barrel, $150 a barrel may become the new norm. It may just never come back down. They don't want it to. I think they would like to see it over $200 a barrel. It keeps people from using it that much, and that's their end goal. Make a lot of money and keep you off of it. But start looking at these systems that you need. Your food system, medical system. Look at natural herbal medicine. Look at the things that grow around you, and utilize these natural resources. I'm sitting right here next to this creek. This is the smaller creek on the property. This one flows into the bigger creek. Both of these creeks are spring fed. This one goes down to just a trickle in the heat of the summer, and the other one, it runs strong all year long. Utilize these systems. You can generate electricity out of this water, and of course you can drink out of this water, and have the preparations in place. Even if you're out in the country and you've got something like this on your property, and you say, well, I've got my own well, I don't need it for drinking. Do you have the capability of taking this water and turning it into a drinkable source? This water, I'd probably drink it. I have drank it, and it's fine, because the spring is just right through the woods there. But still, it can become contaminated. Do you have the systems to easily get this water to your house, other than just carrying it a bucket at a time? And have those in place, because at some point, your well may not be any good if you don't have any electricity to pump it. Think about that kind of stuff. Heating your home. Do you have the ability to take the trees down on your property if you're not able to get any gasoline anymore to run your chainsaws? Start thinking of this stuff ahead of time, because it's a reality right now for a lot of people over in Ukraine. It's quite possible it could become a reality for you and I here in the United States within the coming weeks, months, or years. Don't think that we are too big to fall. There's been a lot of countries in recent history that thought they were too big to fall. Germany, back in the turn of the century and into the 1920s and stuff, they were one of the strongest, most powerful, most modern nations on the planet. and hyperinflation hit them and brought them to their knees very, very fast. Venezuela was the same way. Venezuela was one of the largest economies on the planet, and they were certainly the second largest in the Western Hemisphere, and they were brought to their knees quite rapidly also. So don't think for a moment that America's way too big to fall. In fact, it's just the opposite. We're so big, when we fall, it's going to be catastrophic, folks. And every indicator, I think, out there is showing that's where we're headed. So get your houses in order. Get out of the cities as much as you can, as soon as you can. And I mean, goodness, if you have to start watching, you know, things like Little House on the Prairie and, you know, the Wilderness Family. That's an old movie from the 70s. It's a good one, The Wilderness Family. Stuff like that to kind of get you motivated, get you some ideas. I'm not saying come out here and live like, it's the 1700s. Have the ability to do that if necessary, but certainly get out here and learn to live off the land. Utilize the resources around you, because at some point, the big resources just may never happen anymore. All right, folks, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.